They can send me an email, or I'll send them. If they give me their email address,
Okay.
they can do that.
All right.
I know.
You got the sexy topic, girlfriend.
I guess so.
Well, I'm the program co-chair, so
Oh,
I
okay.
evaluated all of the proposals. You're
I felt
welcome.
so honored to be chosen because I was on the committee to help a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay.
And I had
So
to
you
read
know.
through, so
Yeah.
I know how competitive this was.
Very competitive.
Yes.
Very,
Yes.
and we got our final, and then we scrunched it down even more because people only had 2 choices. So we didn't want to put 18 programs out there.
And some people already felt like, oh my gosh, I got to choose
Well,
between
we
these
had
8.
two. We had 2 that repeated.
Yeah, I think I
So-
saw that.
And this was right up there in terms of popularity. We just picked the top 2 to repeat. And but this is a hell of a.
I know. Tell me about
I
it.
have to count all these people.
Good luck.
All right. So does that light? Can you handle that?
I will. Excuse me? I do. I have 3. Raina. It's over here. You just asked me if this was my session
No,
today.
before that.
I don't know.
I mean, not before that, but
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
yeah, I don't know.
That one that's my notes.
No, I'm looking at where
Oh,
you
yeah.
Eldersburg.
Yeah, out in Eldersburg.
You didn't go to Georgetown.
I didn't. I know a lot of Georgetown coaches, but I didn't go to Georgetown.
If I figure it out, I'll let you.
Yeah, let me know. Let me know.
You pronounce your first name Raina?
Raina. Yep. And I'll share a story behind that too. So yeah.
And just Schroeder.
Schroeder. That's
Okay.
it. That's it. You got it. And it's making sure
Galen.
Galen, right.
Galen.
Lynn. Oh, I did spell it right. Okay.
Well, maybe.
Okay, if you can hear me, would you raise your hand? If you can hear me, would you raise your hand? Try it one last time. If you can hear me, would you raise your hand? Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I love the energy in the room. I just soak it all up. Let's start with process, and then we'll talk about outcome. Process, storytellers. Storytellers. What was that like for you? Energizing. What else? A giant group hug. Isn't it? Isn't it? I love this exercise for that reason. For that reason. Yes, absolutely. Imagine doing it with a client, with a team, with, a leadership team, whatever it is. Giant group hug. Well said. What else? Yes. Yes. Just to be able to tell that story. Yes. What else? Validating. Absolutely, absolutely. So for all those reasons, telling the story is, just as fun as listening to the story. Now let's go to the listening side of the story. What was the process like for the coaches that actually were listening for those strengths? Yes.
It's fun to see the joy on somebody's face.
Isn't it? Yeah, and there is. There's so much joy on somebody's face and emotion when they're talking about their strengths. My words is they just light up. Absolutely light up. What else? It is informative, educational. You're like, wow, without this story, I might never know this about my client or about this person. Yeah, let me go here and then here.
Inspiring.
Yes, just to hear it, because usually it's about, some tough time that they overcame and they stepped up and they were at their best. So absolutely inspiring. Yes.
Connecting.
Yeah, connecting, building that trust and intimacy as a coaching competency. Absolutely. So, just curious, what were some of the strengths that you heard as you listened to that story? Just curious how you kind of phrased them or labeled them. We'll let him get out the door first, since it's kind of drawing all our attention there. There we go. So the question is, how did you capture those strengths? What did you hear, and what labels did you use as a strength? Intuitive visioning. I like that. What else? Middle table.
Courageous, open-hearted, emotional, vulnerable.
Wow. Courageous, open-hearted, emotional, vulnerable. What else?
I would say humility, just being able to sort of let go of yourself to listen to the other person.
Yeah. Humility as a listener for that process. Absolutely. What was it like when you heard that fed back to you, storytellers? First let me ask, go ahead. Yeah.
It was really interesting because two of the words that this group used, I would never have thought about. They were loyalty and faith. And I had never heard that before in my life.
What a gift. She said that in the storytelling, the folks at her table actually used two terms that she had sort of never associated with herself, loyalty and faith. And she said, I had never thought of it in those terms, but sort of universally, that was a theme from everybody at the table. And I said, what a gift. What a gift to see yourself in that beautiful light. Yes?
I think opening yourself through a story is probably the best way to connect with people.
Opening yourself to a story is probably the best way to connect with people, and I wholeheartedly agree. Absolutely. There's just something magical in hearing that story. Now, we mentioned a couple of phrases that were new. What else came up?
I realized as one individual identified a strength that the self-talk went, but it's not always. I would have always do that so well.
And isn't that so? I mean, I know about this stuff, and somebody, just this morning, I was with a girlfriend, and she said, Raina, I really appreciate you sort of putting yourself out there and being willing to sort of get in the arena, as Brene Brown said, and doing this presentation. And I said, no, and then I stopped, and I'm totally discounting it, because that's no. And then she looked at me, because we've had this conversation, and I said, thank you. I appreciate that acknowledgement gift. But yeah, we discount our own strengths because we figure, well, doesn't everybody do that? No, not everybody does that. Those gifts are unique, very unique, and we don't necessarily recognize those. So imagine what this would be like if you did this with a client. Yeah, to kick off a coaching session. And as I said, this is typically how I will kick off a coaching session for all of those reasons. The storytelling, the connection, the power, being able to understand the client, to be able to have them see themselves in this, really powerful light, and to go, yeah, how really, I show up that way.
You can also end your session.
Tell me more. You can also end your session that way.
So at the end of your session, you ask them what value did they receive. Was there anything missing, incomplete, or disempowering? And finally, what would you like to be acknowledged for, or who would you like to be acknowledged for being?
Ooh, who would you like to be acknowledged for? Who would you like to be acknowledged for being? Yeah, let them celebrate it at the end of a session.
Right. And then at the
Love
end,
it.
at the end, the only thing they ever say is, thank you.
Yes, that's right. When somebody's acknowledging your strengths, we need to accept that as the gift that it is and simply acknowledge that as a thank you. Absolutely, absolutely. What else? What else came up for you as you did this exercise? Yes.
So one of the strengths that came up was self-discovery, and as it pertains to the story I was telling, but I was able to get mileage out of that because again, hearing the strengths is really overwhelming, but then just be able to do that one statement to see the theme between not only the story but other things in life.
And wouldn't it be fun to now walk away with that and go, just notice for the next 2 weeks how this shows up in your life now that you've become aware of this. There's a Harvard Business Review article that talks about one of the ways you can actually gather these strengths, in addition to telling this story, is you can actually ask folks that know you, love you, know you, work with you well, to actually characterize some of these strengths, just like you did to one another, and to sort of send you a paragraph about, these are the character strengths that I notice and how I appreciate about you, and to be able to gather that. Again, what a powerful gift to be able to hear those stories from other folks. There's also a couple of strengths resources if you're interested in having yourself or clients take it. There's 2 of them here listed. One is viacharacter.org. And let me talk about that just for a little bit. VIA stands for Values in Action. Values in Action. So viacharacter.org. And their assessment, completely free. I love that part. You can just tell everybody it's completely free. And what they'll do is you'll take an online assessment, no more than about 10 minutes, and it will give you back their list of 24, I believe, character strengths, sort of in order, sort of from your top to your lowest. And I like to focus with my clients on the top 5. How are these showing up for you now? How are they not showing up for you now? How could you potentially build your job from a stream of this one strength into the Mississippi River? How could you use that? And the fun thing about this one is they also have them for folks that are under 18. I think the youngest is maybe 13 to 18. And as soon as my niece and nephew kind of hit that 13 to 14-year-old stage, I'm going to definitely invite them to go do this, so that they can actually learn at a great time in their life what some of their strengths are and how to leverage those. Another great resource for strengths is strengthstest.com. This one will cost you $20. Still reasonable, very reasonable for an assessment. And this is based on Marcus Buckingham's work. And Tom Rath, I think, is the author. Is that what it is? Give it to me again, Tom Rath. And he did Strengths Finder 2.0, so you might find some of that language around this strength test. You can do it one of 2 ways. You can go online, just buy an assessment code, $20, or you can buy the book Strengths Finder 2.0, and inside the book there will be a code. But make sure you buy a new book, because you can only use the code once. So don't go to the library and think you're in luck. You got to buy a new book so you can actually just use that access code once. And this one will also give you your top 5 strengths. And the language that they use is sort of interesting, the differentiation between these 2. So I love this stuff, so I recommend folks do both. Yes, and then we'll come up here. Great, thank you for that. June 3rd, it's a teleclass, so teleclass 23rd of June. Check out the global calendar. You can actually find it out. Yes.
So something that I like about the other one, the Strengths Finder, which I use for some clients, is that you get the top 5, but if you and I have one of the same things in the top 5, it's actually going to read very differently for me. So the description is very much based on what all the rest of your results were. And when I took it, because we were going to be using it with clients, I was amazed. I felt like somebody had been following me around. It was just so true. It was kind of astonishing. So again, I think for $20.
Yeah, it's a steal, absolutely. And we talked about. Let me flip my chart back here to my PERMA model. We talked about engagement, kind of that positive or negative attachment to your job, hobbies, relationships, that kind of thing. And the link between engagement and strengths is you're much more engaged if you use your strengths regularly. Well, the fun part about strengths also translates down here to meaning. That one of the key factors to finding meaning, and it's actually on the handout, but I'll read it. A key factor to engagement is to use our strengths. And when we use our strengths to serve a larger end, something outside ourselves, that's how we find meaning. So it's almost like a 2-for-1 in focusing on strengths in your practice with your clients. There we go. Other comments on this particular exercise? Cool. Well, let me wrap up, and then we'll have a couple minutes for Q&A. And I guess the couple things that I was hoping to impart at this session this afternoon is just the power of leveraging positive emotions. That they really are, positive emotions, positive mindset really are powerful levers for change for your clients. They are not just nice to haves. They're not just indicators of well-being, they are creators of well-being for us. So leverage those positive emotions for yourself and for your clients. And we talked about strengths, about how focusing on strengths is powerful, if not more powerful than focusing on weaknesses. I like to use the analogy of a sailboat. We all have weaknesses, and if we don't do something about them, we're in trouble, analogous to a sailboat having a leak. You've got to figure out some way to plug the leak in the sailboat, or you are really going to be in trouble. Now, if you plug the leak, though, and you fix your weakness, doesn't mean you're going to go anywhere. That your strengths that are represented in kind of the sail of the sailboat are what really move you forward, give you that engagement, give you that meaning, help you flourish. And I guess the last point about this is that it really does impact the way that you see the world. And you really can change the way that you see the world by practicing gratitude, by practicing some of these exercises. There's a list of recommended resources, and I'll go ahead and read those through to you. The first is a book by Marty Seligman, Flourish. The PERMA model is Marty's. Marcus Buckingham's work, The Strengths Work. He's done Now, Discover Your Strengths, and he's also done a follow-on, Go Put Your Strengths to Work. Kind of once you've figured out what your strengths are, what do I do with them now? Positivity, that's Barbara Fredrickson's book, kind of that positivity ratio, experiencing positive emotions 3-to-1 ratio over negative emotions. One that I think is really fun for us in the room is a book by Robert Biswas-Diener, and it's Practicing Positive Psychology Coaching. There's assessments, activities, and strategies in that book. So Practicing Positive Psychology Coaching. Strength Finder by Tom Rath, and then The How of Happiness by Sonia Lubomirsky. Had to practice that name a couple of times, Sonia Lubomirsky. But she has very specific tools that if your clients are looking to thrive, that you can actually leverage with them. And my coaching work, I actually talk about, I'm a thriving at work coach. And for me, the reason it's so near and dear to my heart is because I can remember a time in my career where I felt like a little piece of my soul was dying at work every day when I walked in. Anybody relate to that or had a client that can relate to that? Yeah. I'm like, and fortunately for me, when I transitioned to become a coach, I actually went from just the survival mode to actually thriving. So that's why I'm just really passionate about helping people thrive at work. So if that's your passion too, I would love to connect, stay in touch as fellow travelers along the journey, because there are so many great resources out there, and I love collecting tools for my toolbox, so I'd love to hear from you about those tools. Thank you. Okay. Gayleen shared we do have a minute or two for questions. If there is something you'd like to share, I'm happy to stay. I'm also happy to give you a minute or two back to your day. And that's what I'm feeling at the moment. Give you back your time. Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Did a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Hi, Raina.
Hi, Shawnette.
Hi,
Nice to
Shawnette.
meet
My
you.
pleasure.
I was
You as
wondering
well.
if I could get the name of that folk tale. like the title? 'Cause I
Oh,
want
sure.
that.
You know, I tried to look for one myself,
I
and the
want that.
closest I could get was literally West African folktale. I think it's called The Traveler.
The Traveler?
The Traveler.
Okay.
And if you wait till Monday when my site's up, it'll be on my
perfect.
website.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
because I
definitely
love
check that
one.
out.
Sure,
Thank you.
my pleasure. Hi, Raina.
I'm Dory.
Hi, Dory. Nice to meet you.
I have a quick question. Is there the strong interest inventory?
The
Is
Campbell.
Yes. Is that kind of? I have a teenage daughter that even though I'm a coach, I cannot even reach her.
You and me both. Can't do family. Cannot do family.
No, but you know, I mean, she's in college. But,
Right.
Yeah, but.
I think
so
I think of
she's
it
kind
as
altering. You know?
I think of it as kind of another lens to look through. You know, there's Myers-Briggs type,
That means what their part is.
which they've got to do. They've got to get rid of that energy somehow.
So that was my question to you.
They do. Although what's interesting is the research shows there's a fine line. Thank you. There's a fine line between sort of venting, and then once you've vented,
When they get to their anger and their resentment issues out, then get them into their strengths and then start to really focus on the strengths.
Right.
So that they don't slip
right.
back.
I use the analogy of a teapot. You
Yeah.
know, you're I'm like, is the teapot empty yet?
Yeah.
No. Okay, fine. Go be. And sometimes I say, turn the volume up. Raina. Thank you.
Question for our lawyers. Typically, think of any of the work that we do, touchy feely. How do you understand it? They want to engage in a conversation.
I would pull out my list of, okay, it might be touchy-feely. Let's just even stipulate to that. It's touchy-feely. But let me show you the results you get if you're willing to be a little touchy-feely. You live longer, positive relationships. I mean, I actually have a list of, I think, 25 things.
And have you found there's a start to the conversation when they buy into the data? Do you start in a particular place? Do you start them with stories?
I like stories because I like the connection that they offer. So that's my personal bias is to start with a story. And then, you know, we're coaches, ask questions to go, all right, usually they've told me about what they don't want. Let's dream a little. What do you want? What would make you come alive and be excited to walk into this building right now? What's possible? Oh, my pleasure. Hey, yes, we did. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. Oh, thank you. That means so much to me. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.